So I'm an extremely happy panda. I may be the happiest panda who ever lived. This might be the best Marvel movie ever made. So Captain America Civil War. It begins with the world governments deciding they can no longer allow the Avengers to operate autonomously as they have. They need a little supervision and regulation. So you've got half of the team thinking that, yeah, a little supervision might be a good thing. Let's go ahead and make the people that we protect happy. Okay, you got the other half led by Captain America who believe that, yeah, the minute we start answering to a central authority, we're not going to be as effective as we are. This is some bullshit. And then you've got your two sets of teams going up against one another. And it's sad because they're two sets of people that we love and adore. No, don't fight. But then they have to fight. But it's an awesome fight. It's probably the best fight I've ever seen in my life. And the great thing about this movie is that when you introduce a little bit of conflict to these characters that we've grown up with for, I think, the past, 8 years, you finally get to the core of who these people really are because they're reacting to the situation with what motivates them the most. If you go ahead and place a problematic question in front of me, I'm going to get very honest very quickly. And that's what happens to these characters. The friendships and the alliances that have been set up between these characters in the preceding, 12 movies, they all come to pay off because then you've got this really well-developed, organically and naturally developed web of just how people are going to shift around one another if you attack one person or another. I love that it's not just conflict and people reacting just because that's what conflict mandates. You know, we've seen films where they try to kind of put our heroes, up against one another, and it just doesn't really work just because the reasons behind, that fight are just kind of contrived and flimsy, and I don't need to name names. It's probably the most emotionally satisfying movie I've seen from the Marvel Universe thus far. Every new addition to this universe, to this little pantheon, has been leading up to something later on. We finally got to a point where we could actually not just introduce new aspects into this universe, but actually tell a real story with all of these characters. It's a full, complete story in service of itself, not just in service of what's going to come later. The Russos knew better that even though this is a summer blockbuster film, they didn't have to go ahead and play down to the lowest common denominator. We don't have to go through the bullshit of explaining the backstory. We've been here for 12 films. We're in it. We're invested. They know that you've been sitting there. Who the hell hasn't been watching these movies? Nobody I know. And frankly, I don't want to know them if they're not. That's mean. But then again, I don't care. Oh, that is mean. Still don't care. Ooh, we got too real here. Let's stop with that. The other thing that I love about this movie is that even though the marketing for this film has been about whose side are you on? Are you Team Iron Man or are you Team Cap? And this movie never takes a side. It just allows the arguments and the disagreements to just be. Because even if you are on Team Cap, you can kind of look across the way to Team Iron Man and completely see where they're coming from. Even if you think they're totally wrong and disagree with them completely, I get you. I understand why you think what you're doing is right. And I love that. I love that there is just a fundamental difference between the way that people just sort of react to the same situation. The Russo brothers should direct every single Marvel movie. Ever. Ever. They know that they have an incredibly talented cast and that sometimes the best thing to do is just get the fuck out of the way. Let these people loose and let them be. And that's what I think the best scenes in this movie really feel like, especially these quieter character moments. That's what really fuels all of this along. Even when the movie is in the middle of an action scene and it's huge and it's big, it feels earned. You're not just watching, spectacle for the sake of spectacle, even though the spectacle is amazing and well worth the price of a ticket. And holy shit, there's so many people in this movie. I mean, we thought it was fantastic when Joss Whedon figured out how to balance 6 Avengers and their supporting cast. And we were like, oh, everybody had their moment to shine. Holy shit, how did he do it? There's 12 Avengers in this movie. Like, holy shit, are you kidding me? Not to mention all the other supporting characters, not to mention all the other mess that you kind of have to go through in order to tell this story. And at no point do you ever feel like, well, where is so-and-so and where is everybody? No. Throughout this movie, I mean, it moves at a good pace, and yet you still understand where everybody is and their motivations, why they're acting the way that they are. There's never a moment in which you're kind of like, I'm not understanding what I'm seeing. By the end of this movie, it never feels like something is missing. It never felt like, well, so-and-so needed to do this, and so-and-so needed to do that or say this. No, it's all in here. And I know I've been kind of hinting around it, but we need to talk about these action scenes. They're fucking amazing. I'm going to call it now, and I don't think America is going to make a better action movie than this movie in 2016. Won't be done. that airport matchup scene that we keep on seeing hinted at in the trailers and the TV spots. Oh my god, it's so amazing. I'm not gonna give you any spoilers, but I am gonna say this. What always pisses me off about other hero team up films, especially like the X-Men, is that they always separate the heroes. So that way, in effect, you've got about 3 or 4 different fights that are being cut to from one another. That always pissed me off just because like the greatest thing about having those team up fights is seeing how the fight kind of evolves around one another. And they come through for me in a big way. Every individual fight is somehow affecting somebody else's. It's so amazing. It's so good. I'm gonna go see this movie again today, aren't I? Yes, I am. Okay. Glad we discussed it. Listen, there are some movies in which I can watch them in the theater. I have a lot of fun with them. I get home, I start thinking about their plots and maybe some of those plot holes and some of the things that just didn't make any sense. And then I become really aggravated. And then I realize I'm not going to be able to watch that movie repeatedly. Maybe I'll watch it every so often if it's on, but I'm not going to be able to watch it again and again because it's just going to aggravate me. This is not one of those movies. The more I'm sitting here thinking about this movie and the more that I'm talking about it, the more excited I'm getting, the more that I know that I'm going to be able to go see this movie even more times than I already have in the theater. I'm going to be able to get it on Blu-ray. I'm going to be able to watch it until I wear that Blu-ray out. And the more I'm going to be able to discuss it with people and just realize, like, it's amazing what they were able to accomplish, especially when you've got some things that were finally paying off that were set up all the way from, like, the very first Marvel movie ever made. This is amazing. It's a great movie. I think everybody should see it, and I think it is the greatest way to start off the summer. Yeah, so tell me what you think. Please like, comment below, subscribe, do whatever it is that you feel the need to do. I'm going to go watch this movie another 100 times. I'll talk to you later. Okay, love you, bye!